The royal summon. The battlefield was silent now. Burned metal, crushed machines, smoke rising from broken ships. The war was over, and he was still alive. Eli woke up with blood on his face and dirt in his mouth. His left arm hurt, badly. His vision was blurry and his ears were ringing. All around him, only dead bodies, human and alien. He tried to stand, failed. Then, he heard footsteps. He turned his head and saw something that made his heart stop. 5 tall alien warriors in black armor were walking toward him. Their skin was dark silver, their eyes were glowing red. They didn't speak, they didn't look angry. They just stared at him like he was important. One of them pointed a staff toward him. A bright light flashed. Eli collapsed again, unconscious. When he woke up, he wasn't on the battlefield anymore. He was lying on a soft surface, a glowing bed. The room was round, made of crystal and metal, smooth, cold, silent. His arms weren't tied. He wasn't in chains. But the door had no handle, no way out. He was a prisoner. Or maybe something else. Before he could think more, the door opened with a strange hum. 2 alien guards entered, tall and serious. One of them spoke for the first time. "You have been summoned." Eli tried to ask, "Summoned by who?" But the words barely left his dry lips. The guards didn't answer. They turned and walked out. Eli followed. The hallways were wide and glowing. Strange plants grew in the corners. Alien tech floated in the air. Machines that watched, followed, and listened. They led him to a grand door, bigger than anything he had ever seen, black with glowing symbols. It opened slowly. He stepped inside and saw her. Sitting on a throne made of silver and light, wearing a gown that flowed like liquid stars, was Queen Zavara, the ruler of the alien empire that just destroyed half of Earth's forces. She was beautiful in a strange, otherworldly way. Her skin shimmered with light purple and blue. Her eyes were bright gold. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft, but powerful. "So, you are the human." Eli stayed silent. His heart was pounding. The guards left. The door closed behind him. Now it was just him. And the queen. She stood up and walked toward him slowly. She circled him, examining him. "You are not the strongest of your kind." He didn't answer. Not the smartest. Not a leader. Still, he said nothing. She stopped in front of him just a few inches away, looked straight into his eyes. "But you are the one I saw in my vision." Eli blinked. "What?" The queen tilted her head. 1,000 cycles ago, our ancestors told of a day when one human would be chosen, not to fight, not to serve, but to bond. "Bond?" Eli asked. She smiled, just a little. "You have been brought here, not as a slave, not as a prisoner, but as a mate." Eli froze. "What the hell are you talking about?" She stepped closer. "Your soul is scarred. Your heart has pain. You lost something, someone." His breath caught in his throat. How did she know? "That pain matches mine," she whispered. "I don't want war anymore. I want peace. I want connection." Eli took a step back. "You want me to—" "What? Be your lover?" She nodded. "Yes. You were chosen." He laughed. A bitter, confused laugh. "This is insane." But she didn't laugh. She only said one thing. "You are free to leave. But if you stay, you will change everything. Your world, my world, and perhaps destiny itself." The door opened again. Eli looked at her, one last time. He could leave, he could go back, but something deep inside him whispered, "Stay." Why him? The queen's words echoed in his mind like thunder. You were chosen to bond. Eli sat alone in a quiet chamber, staring at the alien sky outside the tall glass wall. The stars here looked different, bigger, colder. He felt like a grain of dust in the universe, chosen. He didn't feel chosen. He felt lost. The door behind him opened. A voice, cold and sharp, filled the room. "You're a mistake." Eli turned. A new alien stood there, taller, armored, and clearly angry. His name was General Rethar, commander of the Queen's Royal Forces. His eyes were full of judgment. "You are not fit to stand beside our Queen." Eli stood slowly. "I didn't ask for this." Rethar stepped forward. "Then leave." "I was told I could," Eli replied. "Then why are you still here?" the general growled. Eli hesitated. He didn't know why. Something in the Queen's voice, her eyes. It pulled him like gravity. Not love, not yet. But something else, something unfinished. The general scoffed. "The Queen is letting her emotions destroy centuries of royal law. She refuses all suitors from noble blood. And now, she brings in a human?" Eli didn't answer. He couldn't. "You think this is a gift?" Rethar hissed. "You are a curse to her future." Then the alien turned and left, his footsteps like thunder. Later that night, Eli was called again. This time, not to a throne room, but to a garden. A secret one, hidden behind walls of glowing moss and floating lights. The Queen waited for him, not in her royal robe, but in something simple. Barefoot. Calm. She looked younger here. Softer. He approached slowly. "You summoned me again?" She smiled. "I wanted to show you this place. No one else comes here." Eli looked around. "Why me?" Her smile faded. "You keep asking that." "Because it doesn't make sense." She walked to a small fountain. The water was clear, glowing softly like liquid moonlight. She touched it gently. "Do you know what this is?" He shook his head. "It's called the pool of memory. It reflects not the face, but the pain." Eli stepped closer, and when he looked in, he didn't see his reflection. He saw his sister lying in a hospital bed, her hands cold, her smile fading. The last time he held her hand before cancer took her. Eli's chest tightened. "How do you know this?" The Queen looked away. "Because I've seen it too. That same feeling, that same loss." She reached for the water. Her hand shimmered, and a young alien child appeared in the pool, fragile, sick, reaching out. Then, gone. Eli looked at her. "I'm sorry," he said softly. She nodded. "I ruled an empire, Eli, but I couldn't save my daughter." For the first time, he saw her not as a queen, but as a mother who had failed. "I don't need power anymore," she whispered. "I need healing. And you? You are the only one who carries the same wound." Elsewhere in the palace, voices were rising. Noble aliens, warlords, elders, arguing. In the Hall of Judgment, "This is madness. He's unworthy. She's breaking the law of the blood." Some called for exile, some for war. But one voice whispered from the shadows, "Let them fall in love, and then break them both. That's how we win." A plot had begun. Back in the garden, Eli looked at the Queen. "I don't know what you expect from me." "I expect nothing," she said. "But I hope." She reached toward him. Her hand hovered near his, not touching, just waiting. "If you choose to leave, no one will stop you. But if you stay, you must understand. This is not a game. You were not chosen for beauty, or strength, or fame." "Then why?" Her eyes glowed gold in the dark. "Because your heart is scarred the same way as mine, and only pain understands pain." Eli didn't take her hand, but he didn't walk away either. The night wind blew softly, and somewhere deep inside him, a wall began to crack. The ceremony of binding Eli stood in front of a tall mirror. but he couldn't recognize himself anymore. His military uniform was gone. In its place, he wore a robe, dark blue with glowing patterns like constellations. It felt alive. The fabric pulsed lightly, almost breathing. Alien attendants had bathed him, dressed him, and painted thin lines on his arms and neck. The paint smelled like spices. They called it soulmark ink, used only in sacred rituals. He asked them what was happening. They said only one thing. The binding begins at moonrise. Outside, the twin moons were rising, one silver, one crimson. The sky turned violet. The palace glowed with soft lights, and strange humming sounds filled the air, like 100 voices singing from another world. Eli was led to the Sanctum of Stars, the holiest place in the Queen's empire. The walls were made of crystal. Above him, no ceiling, just the open sky and galaxies above. The floor shimmered with lights that moved under his feet. In the center stood Queen Zavara. She too was changed. Her royal armor was gone. She wore a ceremonial robe, gold and white, flowing like mist. On her forehead was a mark drawn in fire-red ink. Her eyes glowed softly, not cold, not commanding, but distant, like she was afraid. They stood facing each other in silence. Then a voice echoed around them. "Let the binding begin." An old alien priest walked between them. He held a staff made of bones and crystal. He spoke in a language Eli didn't know, but felt in his chest. The priest dipped the staff into a bowl of glowing blue liquid. Then he drew a circle around them. "This is the ancient rite of binding," the Queen finally said, her voice quiet. "I don't understand it," Eli replied. Honestly, she looked at him. "You don't need to. You only need to feel." The circle began to glow. The air changed, became heavy, like a storm was about to begin. The Queen stepped forward. "If you walk out of the circle before the ritual ends, it's over. No second chance, not for me, not for us." Eli stared into her eyes. "Why would I stay?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Because I think you feel it too." The priest raised his staff. A beam of light shot up from the circle, connecting them both. Memories flashed through Eli's mind, not his own, but hers. He saw her laughing as a child, running through glowing gardens. He saw her holding her baby, rocking her to sleep. Then he saw flames, screaming, her child coughing. He felt her grief, the silent kind that never leaves. His knees went weak. The Queen took his hand to steady him. Suddenly he felt something inside himself open. And she saw his past too. The hospital. His sister's death. The empty apartment. The long nights filled with silence. Their hands were still locked. Tears formed in both of their eyes. The priest spoke again, this time in words Eli could understand. "The souls have seen each other. If they choose to stay together, they will begin to heal." But before Eli could speak, a loud boom shook the crystal floor. Alarms blared. The circle of light shattered. Guards rushed in. The Queen turned, eyes wide. "We're under attack," one shouted. "The rebels found us." Eli looked at her. "What now?" She grabbed his hand tightly. "Now, we survive. Together." The Queen's confession. The attack didn't last long. The Queen's guards fought off the intruders with brutal skill, their weapons glowing like fire in the night. Eli had ducked for cover, but when he looked up, he saw her. Zavara wasn't. Hiding. She stood tall, blades in both hands, moving like she had danced with war her whole life. Even the rebels hesitated when facing her. When it ended, bodies lay broken on the stone floor. The palace lights flickered back to life. The Queen didn't speak. She just stared at the cracked sky, breathing hard. Eli stepped forward. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked away. Fast. He followed her down empty halls, through metal doors, into a quiet chamber hidden beneath the palace. The walls were black stone. No guards, no tech, just silence. She stood in the center, staring at an old statue, a woman with wings holding a star. Zevara's voice broke the silence. This used to be the throne room of my great-grandmother. Eli looked around. It felt more like a tomb. She didn't look at him. She was the last queen who loved a human. Eli's breath caught. What? She nodded slowly. 1,000 years ago, during the first war between our worlds, she saved a human man from death, fell in love, gave him part of her power. Then what happened? The queen turned to him. Her eyes were dark now, haunted. He betrayed her. Eli felt a chill crawl up his spine. He used her love to learn our weaknesses, shared them with Earth. Millions died. Silence. She killed him with her own hands. Eli took a step back. Why are you telling me this now? Zevara stared into the statue's hollow eyes. Because ever since I saw you, I've been terrified I'll repeat her mistake. Eli looked away. His chest felt heavy. I'm not him. She nodded. I know. Do you? Her voice shook slightly. I want to. She walked to a small altar in the corner and pressed her palm on a glowing stone. The wall opened. Inside was a sealed pod, and inside the pod, a small alien child asleep in stasis. Zevara's voice cracked. My daughter. Eli stepped closer, shocked. She's alive? Barely. She was born weak. A curse, they said. My enemies used it to say I was unfit to rule. The healers tried everything. Nothing worked. She placed her hand on the glass. Then, the vision came. Eli stared at her. The vision that led you to me, she nodded. It showed me you, standing here, with her, and me. Eli swallowed hard. What am I supposed to do? She looked at him with eyes full of quiet desperation. Your DNA, your touch, your bond with me. It may awaken something ancient, something even our science has forgotten. He looked at the child again. Her skin was pale, her small chest barely moved. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Zevara's voice was barely a whisper now. Because I wasn't ready to ask someone to save my heart, and then maybe lose them too. Silence hung in the room. Eli stepped closer to the pod, gently touched the glass. A tiny flicker inside the child's fingers twitched, almost like response. He looked at Zevara. Her walls were down now. No crown, no armor, just a broken mother and a silent plea. He didn't know what to say, so he did something else. He stepped forward and held her hand. Not as a soldier, not as a stranger, but as a man who understood loss. For the first time, she leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder. Not a queen, not an alien, just her. Assassins in the palace. The palace had returned to calm. Guards doubled their watch. Corridors whispered with fear, and in the shadows, danger waited. Eli hadn't slept. He sat outside the healing chamber, watching Zevara's daughter float inside her glass pod, still alive, still fragile. The queen had told him everything. No more secrets. He was no longer just the chosen one. He was part of something much bigger, maybe even sacred. He didn't understand alien magic. He didn't understand prophecies. But he understood this. He didn't want to lose them. Not her. Not the child. That night, the queen called him to her private garden again. No guards, no throne, just her. She wore no crown. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders, and this time she smiled when she saw him. You stayed, she said gently. Eli nodded. I think I'm starting to care what happens here. She walked beside him, hands clasped in front of her. Most men want glory, or power. You don't. I had that once, he said. It didn't fix anything. She looked at him, eyes soft. Maybe. We're both tired of pretending to be strong. Eli turned to speak, but something caught his eye, a shadow, too fast, too quiet. Down. he shouted. He tackled her just as a silver blade sliced through the air. It missed her by inches. 4 dark figures dropped from the treetops, blades glowing green, faces hidden behind smooth masks. Assassins. Zavara stood, pulling 2 energy blades from her robe. Her calm vanished. She became a warrior again. Eli reached for the guard's discarded weapon on the ground, a sharp staff tipped with electric nodes. He had no training with alien tools, but he had rage. One assassin charged Eli. He ducked, swung the staff, hit the attacker in the leg. Electric sparks flew. The figure collapsed, twitching. Another one jumped from behind. Zavara turned midair and threw her blade, straight into the assassin's chest. The queen moved like poetry and fire. Eli fought like instinct and desperation. Back to back, they stood, breathing hard, bleeding, alive. The last assassin tried to escape. Zavara raised her hand, flicked her fingers. The air around the assassin crushed inward. Bones snapped. Silence followed. The garden was soaked in blood and moonlight. Eli dropped the staff. His hands shook. His shirt was cut, bleeding, but he was standing. He looked at the queen. "That's twice now I've saved your life." She stepped forward. "And once I saved yours." He smirked. "Guess that makes us even." She stared at him. The moon caught her eyes. They didn't glow with power now. They glowed with something else, something fragile, something real. "Why would you risk yourself like that?" she asked. Eli shrugged. "Because I'm not here for a throne, or prophecy." He looked down, then back at her. "I'm here for you." The queen didn't speak. She reached out, this time not just to thank him, not for duty, but for something unspoken. Her hand brushed his face. Light. Careful. She leaned closer but didn't kiss him. Instead, she whispered, "If I give you my heart, and you break it, this empire will burn." Eli didn't flinch. "Then you'll never need to worry. Because I'm already broken. I won't do that to you." That night, under the twin moons, they sat beside each other in silence. 2 survivors. 2 hearts slowly melting frost. One guarded by a crown. One stitched back together by purpose. And somewhere inside them both, hope lit its first flame. A heart reborn. The palace had changed, not in stone or steel, but in silence. In the way the queen smiled just a little when Eli entered the room. In the way he stayed up late near her daughter's chamber, waiting for even the smallest movement. In the way their hands almost touched now and sometimes did. It was like a heavy storm had passed, and now there was sunlight. Careful, warm, but still new. The child's stasis pod flickered that morning. A heartbeat. A pulse. Not strong, but stronger than before. Eli sat beside her, watching her chest rise and fall. Zavara came in quietly, barefoot, her robe half-tied. No crown. Just a tired mother. "She's reacting to you," she whispered. Eli didn't look up. "Me?" Zavara nodded. "When you're near her, vitals rise. The scientists say your presence affects her, emotionally, energetically." He swallowed hard. "I don't know how to be that kind of man." She sat beside him. "You already are." They spent the next days in each other's orbit. She showed him the gardens, the temples, the sky paths where stars danced overhead. He told her about Earth, his family, his regrets, the things he missed, and the things he didn't. She laughed at his stories. He listened when she talked about alien politics, old wounds and silent enemies that still watched from the shadows. They didn't kiss. Not yet, but something deeper bloomed between them. Respect, trust, a fragile kind of joy. One night, as Zavara walked into her chamber, she stopped. Eli was asleep on the floor beside the pod, his head against the glass. Inside, her daughter's tiny fingers were curled as if trying to reach him. Zavara's breath caught. Tears stung her eyes. Not from sorrow, from something else. Hope. that dangerous, beautiful thing, but peace never stays long for queens. The next morning, her advisors gathered in the war hall. Tension burned in their eyes. "The council grows restless," said one. "They say your bond with the human is weakening your rule." "I don't care," Zavara said. Another voice chimed in. "They say it's waking the child, but also waking old enemies." Zavara stood tall. "Let them come." That night she told Eli everything. He sat quietly as she spoke, about the council, the whispers, the pressure to end their bond before it became too real, about how the Empire may not allow a human to stay beside her. She waited for him to panic, to leave. But Eli didn't flinch. He just asked, "Do you want me to stay?" She didn't speak. She just walked forward slowly and pressed her forehead to his. Alien custom, sacred gesture. "I don't want peace without you in it." In that still moment, Eli spoke the words he'd been holding in his chest since the first time he looked into her golden eyes. "Then I'm yours." Later, in the quiet warmth of her chamber, Eli held her hand as they sat by the window. The stars above seemed closer now, like they were listening, and far below them, in the stasis pod, the child moved again, not weak this time, but strong. Eyes fluttered. A tiny hand reached out. A life was returning, because two broken souls had found each other, and the universe was beginning to believe again. The lover of the queen. The throne room had never been this quiet. All across the chamber, nobles, soldiers, high priests, and ancient warlords stood still, staring at the human man who walked side by side with their queen. Eli's steps echoed. No armor, no crown, just truth in his eyes. And Zavara? She wore her full regalia again. But today she didn't wear it as a shield. She wore it as a woman unafraid to love. The council had forced her to choose. Your throne, or the human. But she didn't flinch. She stood before them and said, "He is not my weakness. He is my proof that peace is possible, that healing is real." Gasps, anger, threats. But no one could deny what happened next. A soft sound, small, fragile, but alive. Her daughter, Arian, walked into the throne room, holding a healer's hand. Child who was supposed to die, who had never opened her eyes, who had only known silence. She walked, she smiled, and when she saw Eli, she ran, straight into his arms. The silence shattered. Some cried, some bowed, some simply watched, as destiny rewrote itself. Later that evening, under the twin moons, a new ceremony began. Not a royal wedding, not a treaty signing, something older, something sacred. The binding of two worlds. Zavara and Eli stood before the pool of memory, where pain had once lived. Now it reflected something else. Love. Real. Earned. Fought for. The alien priest from before returned, but this time his voice trembled as he spoke. Let the stars witness what war could not destroy. Eli took her hands. Zavara took his, and together they spoke words not written in law but carved in their hearts. You saw me when I was broken. You chose me when I was lost. Now I choose you, not as ruler or savior, but as mine. The stars above flared. Literally. A rare cosmic event lit the sky. Two galaxies crossing paths. Some called it coincidence. Others called it fate. But everyone who saw it and remembered. Years later, children would ask, "Is it true, Mama, that our queen loved a human?" And the mothers would smile and say, "She didn't just love him. She rebuilt a world with him." And Eli? He never wore a crown, never asked for a title. But every time he held Zavara's hand as she spoke before her people, every time Arian sat on his shoulders and laughed like the stars were her playground, every time he stood at the edge of the garden where assassins once came and felt peace instead of fear, he remembered who he used to be, a broken man, a forgotten soldier, a shadow in a war. Now, he was the reason the galaxy dared to hope again. And the universe? It watched quietly, not with judgment, but with wonder, at a story only love could write.